Hello and welcome to Thought for the Day for Friday the 12th of June, and this morning we're looking at Psalm 75 and my name is Pam Cribben. So far this week, on Tuesday, Helen led us through Psalm 73, which was about why do good things happen to bad people, and yesterday with Suzanne, Psalm 74, Suzanne said this was about bad things happening to bad people who actually deserve it because they hadn't kept their agreement with God. Today, if I had to give today a title, I would call it Everything Will Be Okay in the End, although that time can seem a long way off. So this psalm, along with the last two psalms and the next few psalms, all the way up to Psalm 83, were written by somebody called Asaph. We don't really know too much about him, except that Psalm 74 that we did yesterday seems to have been written about the time of the exile or after the exile, so he probably lived around that time. And a particular theme of his seems to have been justice. It's not fair. So if we ever feel like saying that, and who doesn't, then perhaps we can learn from Asaph's Psalms. He starts off this psalm in verse 1 on a real note of praise. We praise you, God, we praise you, for your name is near. People tell of all your wonderful deeds. And the concept of God's name was important to the Jewish people and was even considered to be too holy for them to speak. So the fact that this holy, awesome God was near to them and is near to us is an awesome thought. As has often been said before, pausing for a moment during our day to praise God and remember that He is near helps us to focus and get a different perspective on our lives. And in verse 2, he states that God really is in control. He says, I choose the appointed time. It is I who judge with equity. This is an encouraging statement for anyone who was or is now living in a time of great injustice. God is a just judge who will bring justice to those who seem to be getting away with it at the moment. Perhaps you're aware of a situation where justice just doesn't seem to be being done, whether it's on a global or national level or closer to home. You may feel you or your family are being treated unfairly in some way. And it's so easy to get wound up about these things and allow all our mental energy to be drained by them. But God says to us today, I choose the appointed time. It is I who judge with equity. Verse 3 is one of the verses that's really encouraged me during the last few weeks of the pandemic, and I've actually printed it out and put it on the wall. When the earth and all its people quake, it is I who hold its pillars firm. And how encouraging that is, that in all the turmoil, when we're just getting to grips with one thing and it seems that the next thing happens, God really is holding the pillars of the earth firm, and our times really are in His hand. Verses 4 to 5 are a warning to those who like to boast in their own ability, who think they can do whatever they like and no one can stop them, who have no regard for God or any kind of authority. To the arrogant I say, boast no more, and to the wicked, do not lift up your horns. Do not lift your horns against heaven, do not speak so defiantly. And horns in the Bible symbolises strength, and we'll see that later in the psalm as well. I learnt recently that black rhinos, which are sought after by poachers for their horns, will sometimes have their horns removed by gamekeepers, which makes them worthless to poachers and therefore protects them. I wonder if we can use this, an example of us giving over our pride, our arrogance and our strength to God for our own protection. Those who hold on to their pride and arrogance will one day learn that they don't stand a chance against God. And this theme continues in verses 6 to 7. No one from the east or the west or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down, he exalts another. Once again we see that God is in control, not us, not anyone who exalts themselves, although they may seem to be getting away with it for a while. Verse 8 is a rather strange reference to the cup full of foaming wine mixed with spices which the wicked will have to drink. This is a symbol used in the Bible of God's judgment. This is not a subject that we like to think about much, unless we've been wronged by someone, and then we are suddenly very keen for justice to be done. Sometimes justice is sadly not carried out as it should be by those responsible for carrying it out. However, God asks us to leave the judgment up to Him, because He is the one who can be relied on to judge fairly and justly. We see the same symbolism of the cup used when Jesus was facing his crucifixion. He prayed to his Father in the Garden of Gethsemane just before his arrest. "If it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." The cup that Jesus asked to be taken from him was the cup of God's judgment on the world, all the unjust things any of us have ever done, which Jesus was to drink. And this was somehow God's answer to judgment, that the punishment that the wicked deserve, that we all deserve, was taken by Jesus instead of us, if we are willing to accept that. And the psalm ends with praise once again. "As for me, I will declare this forever. I will sing praise to the God of Jacob, who says, I will cut off the horns of all the wicked, but the horns of the righteous shall be lifted up." In the Bible, the wicked versus the righteous is not a matter of how many good or bad things we do, but rather whether we have decided to trust God with our lives and follow him, and accept that Jesus has drunk the cup of judgment on our behalf. God is still giving us that opportunity. Have we taken it? Thank you.